I'm Chad Evan Collins, and this is the Marketing on Demand show. I set out to answer the million-dollar question. What is the biggest needle mover in your business, and what drives people to buy faster than anything else? Through selling over $30 million of my own products and services and setting 2 Guinness World Records for ticket sales along the way, I discovered how to move the needle consistently and quickly. If you're a marketer, e-commerce seller, entrepreneur, or founder, join me as I reveal my exact strategies and see what today's smartest business leaders are doing right now to explode their sales. Do you want to learn how to boost your sales using these methods? Text the word DEMAND to 90851. That's DEMAND to 90851. Now, here's the show. Hey, it's Chad Evan Collins here, your host of the Marketing on Demand show, where we feature top marketers, entrepreneurs, and brands about the strategies, tactics, and tools they're using right now to move the needle in their businesses. And today, we have the pleasure of chatting with Benton Crane. I'm going to bring in Benton and tell you a little bit about him, and then we'll get right into this. Benton is the Chief Executive Officer of Harmon Brothers, a Provo, Utah-based ad agency behind the most viral ads in internet history. Since 2013, the agency has collectively driven more than 1.5 billion with a B views and over $450 million in sales through its groundbreaking social media spots. After being ranked the number 2 student auto mechanic in the nation, and then working data analytics for Deloitte, where he served as a consultant with various clients across the national intelligence community. In 2013, Benton joined the newly formed Harmon Brothers for a campaign to promote Poo-Pourri, an internet ad that transformed the way products are marketed today. Harmon Brothers went on to produce the most viral ads in internet history, including Squatty Potty, Fiberfix, Orabrush, Poo-Pourri, Purple, and Lumi deodorant. The renowned spot makers just rolled out another viral sensation, a brand new spot for Profits Unlimited, a new product in the financial services space that allows amateurs to invest like the pros. Crane has managed the agency's growth from its infancy to one of the most sought-after ad agencies in the world. Benton, welcome to the Marketing on Demand show.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to talk a lot about viral video. And I'm sure you get inundated now with requests after the success that you've had from clients all over the world with all different types of products and services they want you to help them bring to market. How do you determine the clients that you want to work with as opposed to those that might not be the right fit for Harmon Brothers?
Yeah, I think we have over 100 companies reach out every single month. And almost all of them reach out and they say something like, hey, can you make me a viral video? Can you make me a viral campaign? You know, they see all those campaigns that you mentioned, you know, all of which, you know, helps those companies scale by tens of millions of dollars, or in some cases, you know, even more than $100 million. And they think that's what they want. But the simple reality is that a very tiny percentage of those companies who reach out are actually ready for that type of growth. And there can be so many things that need to be done to get them ready, from kind of a foundational level, anything from, you know, supply chain, manufacturing, customer service, you know, all of those type of things, as well as from a marketing perspective. Is the message tested and well honed? Do they understand their target audience? Is their e-commerce architecture all built out? You know, these are all things that companies have to think about and have to do. And so when we think about who we can help, we kind of have a spectrum from, hey, you need a lot of help on the foundational end, and we can guide you through some of those foundational pieces at more kind of like an entry level type engagement, all the way up to these huge national campaigns that, in many cases can be multi-million-dollar campaigns when you factor in, all the media buys and the production and everything that's involved with those. And so on those big campaigns, we're very, very selective. We can only do a few of those per year. And so we want to make sure that we're very, very aligned with the client. We want to make sure that they have something that solves real problems for real people, making the world a better place. We want to make sure that we personally believe in it so that our passion ends up in our work. And those are all factors that go into determining, who we partner with on these big campaigns. But on the more entry level stuff, we don't have to be, quite as selective. We can work with more companies and find out over time whether or not they fit all those criteria for the big stuff.
So you mentioned, 100 inquiries per month, and of course, all 100 are raising their hand, and they of course enter the conversation as, I want the Rolls Royce.
That's right.
I want the best thing that you have. When did Harmon Brothers get to a point where those types of inquiries started coming in? Because in the beginning, all right, we launch with, we have success with Poopery. Then we have one or two more successes, but people know what those brands are, but they don't necessarily know that, okay, it's quote Harmon Brothers, right? This is a Harmon Brothers production. This is a Harmon Brothers viral video. At what point, like how many successful campaigns did you need to run in order for that flywheel to start spinning where the leads started coming into you?
I think it really took off after Purple. With Poopery, we didn't even know that we were going to be an agency when we did Poopery. It was just kind of this project that we thought would be fun, and we got together and did the project. And when we got done, we actually went and co-founded a different company, a video streaming company, and we worked on that for about a year, and we kind of reached this point where it was tough going in those early days. And we were running out of cash. And so there was 4 of us, and 2 of us, Daniel and I, went to do side work to keep food on the table and to keep the lights on. And that side work ended up resulting in Squatty Potty. And so then Squatty Potty was this, massive success. And next thing we knew, we were like, man, we really have something here. Let's keep running with this. And so Daniel and I stayed full-time focused on building the agency, Harmon Brothers. Neil and Jeff, our other partners, stayed full-time focused on building VidAngel, which they're still at today, and that's going very well as well. But then we were known as kind of like the poop guys, right? We had just done Poopery and Squatty Potty, and so people still didn't really take us seriously. But Purple was our next big campaign. And that showed the world that, hey, this isn't just, for gag gifts. This isn't just poop products. This is a new way of marketing that is extremely effective. And Purple really highlighted that in a massive way on a very high dollar product. It was $1,000 plus product. And we showed that it could work there. And that kind of was the turning point where the floodgates really opened. And since that point, all we've had to do is just continue driving success for our clients, and the flywheel just keeps spinning.
Harmon Brothers does this magic trick, I call it, where you're able to educate and humorously entertain simultaneously in a relatively short period of time. When we talk about marketing on demand, a lot of what we're talking about is building a community around your product or service, and then finding the great match, the great product or offer match to the community or audience that you've already built. But what you've been able to do is entertain people in a way where even if they never heard of the product or service before, you get them to take action, and you get them to take action almost immediately. What is it about the style of videos that you create that cause that reaction in the viewer?
Think about it this way. When a business is brand new and it's first starting out, it's taking its product to market, and it's looking for the lowest hanging fruit in the marketplace. People who actively are seeking out the solution that business has to offer. People who are acutely feeling the pain of the problem that this new business solves. When you're speaking to people who are that ready, you don't have to entertain them very much. All you have to do is just show them that you understand the pain that they're feeling, and then convince them that you provide a great solution for that. That's the way it works in the early days of a company. But eventually, as a company grows, it comes to this point where it has to start to talk to people who are not as warm or who are not as ready to purchase. It's people who take more convincing. They're not actively feeling the pain, or they're not actively seeking you out. And when you start talking to those type of customers, you have a higher hurdle, so to speak, in terms of being able to capture and hold their attention. And we know that in order to convince somebody to do anything, you have to hold their attention, because convincing them to do anything, it takes education, it takes overcoming concerns, it takes building credibility, and all of that takes time. And the only way to get their time is to capture their attention. And the only way to capture their attention is to entertain them and give them something that they want to watch, something that they want to engage with, they want to talk about, share, comment. All of those things are a function of giving them something that's so good that they voluntarily choose to spend their time on it. And that's the key to how we do it.
You know, after you create this piece of content or several pieces of content for a brand that you work with, I'm wondering, the success of that content sometimes is dependent on how much energy you put behind it. When I say energy, it's what platforms am I going to share this content on? Is this going to be a Facebook ad? Am I going to use pre-roll on YouTube? And I'm sure at Harmon Brothers, you know, or you have a sense of the prior work that you've done, what's going to get the most success. Is part of your service to place those ads, right? To run the ad spend, to try and get the ad to take and try and get the sales to come in? Or once your content piece is done, once those video assets are completed, do you simply hand them over to the brand and allow them and their marketing team to run the advertising campaigns?
So that can be an either or a blend of both. And what I mean by that is oftentimes we'll be helping a brand that hasn't yet had the opportunity to really build out a robust marketing team yet. And so we kind of have to step in and fill a lot of those gaps for them. And so oftentimes early on, the client will hire us to do the ad placements, to do the media buys and all of those things. But generally what happens is over time, we help them transition that over to their team and help their team level up to be able to do it. Because any brand that reaches scale needs to have that capability and that function. That's just something that every brand needs once they hit scale. And so we help them get that. In other cases, we'll work with brands who are a little more well-established and already have a marketing team and already have those capabilities. And so in that case, what we usually do is work with their ad buying team to train their team to test and see the data and react to the data in the way that we do. Because we know that from a creative perspective, we can always take our best guess on the creative and hope we get it right. But if we did that, our hit rate would be really, really low. The reality is that we have to take our best guess and then test it over and over and over again so that we actually follow the data and find the creative recipe that works. And so that cycle of, having a creative idea and then testing it and then letting the results feed the next creative idea, it's this cycle that goes over and over and over again. Regardless of whether our team or our client's team is doing the ad buying, we have to have a tight cycle there where we're seeing and reacting to the data and letting that feed the creative decisions that are being made.
Yeah, and that's a very direct response marketing approach, right? And we love direct response here at Marketing on Demand. And the question I like to ask those that are really winning in the space, like Harmon Brothers, is you employ all of these direct response triggers in your creative. Well, I like to know who do Harmon Brothers study? Where did Harmon Brothers learn their direct response marketing tactics from? And who have been the best inspirations for you that you've then been able to employ into the creative that you develop for your clients?
Great question. So direct response is half the equation. It's the math half of the equation. But the brand building is the other side of the equation. We call that the art side of the equation. So this is kind of a function of math meets art and kind of creates this perfect marriage. And believe it or not, that's actually really uncommon and really rare in the advertising space. If you think about it, advertising historically has been two camps. You've got direct response, your performance marketers, your infomercial guys. It's the click now, hurry while supplies last, the high pressure call to action, the offer, all those things that we know in the direct response world, versus the traditional brand guys who are your Nike, your Apple, your Coca-Cola, your Super Bowl ads, right? It's the entertainment, the emotion, the look, the feel, all of these things that make a brand memorable, make it sticky, make it trustworthy. Those two camps historically have rarely ever crossed paths. And the two camps hate each other. Like if you go to Madison Avenue in New York and talk to the brand guys, they will just like look down their noses in disgust at anything that happens in the direct response world, right? They're like, who would use a call to action, right? That's like so disgusting. It's so gross. They feel like they need to take a shower after they've seen an infomercial or a direct response ad. But then you go to the direct response guys and they will criticize traditional branding all day long. It's fluffy. You can't measure it. It's impossible to track, all of these things. But what neither camp realizes is that there's a time and a place for both, and there are advantages and pros that both types of marketing bring to the table. And that's why we try to take the best of both worlds and blend them together. And admittedly, the direct response world, that's kind of the easier side because it's more formulaic. It's, you can do A, B, C, D, and E. You can follow this structure and you'll get results. But building the brand side, that's the more challenging part. And so back to your question of who do we study and who do we follow? Believe it or not, our team is actually really following closely all of the great entertainers out there. And that can be in the world of comedy. It can be in stand-up comedy. It can be in improv comedy. It can be the great filmmakers, the Christopher Nolans of the world. These are the people who our team are following very carefully because we understand that in order to build a brand, we have to hold attention. And in order to hold attention, we have to entertain. And so we have to become great entertainers. And then we can layer on top of it all those direct response elements that drive the results in the sales.
I love it. So let's go a little deeper here. So many of your campaigns that we're all familiar with have that, it seems like that perfect main character or that perfect actor that really gets it, that really gets that they're in on the joke, but they play it so straight that it's hard to turn away. What is the process for finding the right actors and actresses to star in the videos that you create?
Like you mentioned, we use humor a lot. Humor is a very, very effective tool when it comes to entertaining and holding attention. And what we found in terms of talent, in being able to deliver humor and get the timing and the delivery and everything right with it, nothing replaces experience and repetition when it comes to delivering humor. And so we find ourselves casting, not exclusively, but the vast majority of the people who we cast are very experienced comedians. And they either have that experience in the world of stand-up or in the world of improv. But we're looking for people who have kind of put in their 10,000 hours, so to speak. And they've gone through, all the pain of developing that type of rhythm and that type of timing. And we found that is essential in the delivery. And we've had very few examples of actors who have not had that kind of comedic experience and still been able to deliver what we needed.
It just sounds so simple, right? You want to shoot a funny video. Well, of course, go hire a seasoned comedian.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Thanks for sharing that. Now, I know that Harmon Brothers, for those DIYers out there, for those that watch your videos and you're like, you know what? I can deconstruct that for my brand. There's something called Harmon Brothers University. Mm-hmm. And there's a book out there where people can go through, and you kind of go through the process of how you can do this for yourself. Why give away the family recipe?
So a couple of reasons. The first one is that we have to train people internally. So if we're having to build the training tools anyways, why not sell them? And allow that to be a revenue stream for our company, right? So that's reason number one. But reason number two is that we feel like it's very, very important for our own teams to be pushed. And there's nothing better than competition to push you to innovate and change and try new things and try things differently. And so as we go out and we share everything that we know and everything that we've learned, and other people take that and they go apply their own ideas and their own spin and their own methodologies to what we're sharing with them, sometimes they inspire us by what they come out with and what they try, and that triggers new ideas for us, and it becomes this almost this virtuous cycle where by us giving and making other people better, it seems to kind of reciprocate back to us, and they help make us better. And so we feel like having the abundance mentality is the smartest way to do it, because it's what is going to keep us sharp and keep us innovating and trying new things.
Which are there any brands or videos that you found that some of your students have produced that have really hit it out of the park, that have kind of given you that sense of gratification that like, oh man, yes, this stuff works for us, but it works for our students too?
Yes, we've seen several of those. I'm having a hard time thinking of a specific one right off the top of my head. But one of the consistent things that we see with our students, most of our students are entrepreneurs, right? They're in the early stages of trying to take their business, their service, their product to market, and they're trying to tell that story. And so when we help them and give them the tools and the training that they need to tell that story right, and then they start seeing amazing results from it, that is extremely gratifying for us. And we get a pretty steady stream of, I guess, thank yous coming back from these students saying, this changed my business, this changed my life. As entrepreneurs can relate, but when you have a breakthrough in business, it is literally life-changing. Go ahead.
There's no doubt about it. I'm wondering if, you get pitched probably on, you said you get pitched on thousands of ideas every single year. And I'm assuming that the traditional business model is, okay, great. You want this level of service, this is the price for this. You want this level of service, this is the price for this. Has there ever been a point where you really believed in something, where you created a win-win scenario where Harmon Brothers ends up with equity in one of these companies, so you're motivated to drive it along with the entrepreneur or along with the brand owner?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've done that several times, and there are different ways to approach it. There are times where we work out a deal with an entrepreneur where we'll do part cash, part equity, because as a services-based agency, we have to have cash flowing in to cover our costs and pay the people, and all that sort of thing. But sometimes we're willing to forego our margin in exchange for equity in a company. We've done that several times. And then we've also had several examples where there are a group of investors who kind of all came to us looking for early access to our clients. Go figure, right? They want to get in before we blow them up.
Yep.
And so we worked out an arrangement with this group of investors where if a client comes to us and that client has a lead investor from a reputable firm, then they can allow us to come in as a follow-on investor, which we do in conjunction with kind of our group of investing partners. And so we will follow on to that round. And so what happens is the entrepreneur takes a financing round in which we participate. So they get an injection of capital into their company, and then they use a chunk of that capital to hire Harmon Brothers to do the services that they're looking for. So the answer is yes, we've done that several times.
Got it. And in that situation, you like to have the entrepreneur. There already needs to be a firm that's kind of already said, we believe in these guys, we've vetted them, right? We did all of that due diligence. So now you come in as an add-on, and you don't have to really worry about all of that other work because
financial due diligence is not our specialty.
Right.
It's not what we're experts in. And so we like to leave that to other experts. And then once that financial due diligence has been done, there's a term sheet in place, all of that work has been laid by a reputable firm. Then we feel comfortable coming in and saying, okay, well, we'll follow on to that round and we'll participate.
So for those major productions that you work on each year, the handful of the major productions, how important is it for those clients to already have sales happening in their businesses?
It's almost imperative. So Purple is our only example of taking somebody from no sales to blowing them up to over $100 million, in just a few short months. They're a little bit of an anomaly. In almost all situations, you first need to lay that foundation of understanding what is your core message, and you test all the value propositions of your message and find out which are the ones that resonate most. You test the target and the audience so that you understand who you're speaking to, how you're speaking to them. You test your image architecture so that you know what are the images that resonate with your audience. And you get all of those learnings and all of those data, and then you feed that into one of those big campaigns. And that just raises the chances of your success enormously because you've done all that groundwork and laid all that foundation. And so while in our early days, we were willing to take a swing on somebody who had no sales like Purple, and fortunately it worked out for us and it worked out for Purple. Nowadays, we have the luxury of requiring entrepreneurs to go through more of that foundational work to prepare, and then we let them step up to the plate and swing for the fences.
This is really great stuff. How big is Harmon Brothers now? How many employees?
We keep it pretty small. We try to be pretty boutique. I think we're around 40 something in employees, if I'm not mistaken. So we're trying to scale the business in ways other than just trying to do massive amounts of creative, because we believe that for our creative to stay world class, it needs to stay limited in scope so that we can give it the proper focus that it needs.
Benton, 3 quick questions as we round out the show. Number 1, who's one person that inspires you?
There are many people that inspire me. One that pops into my mind right now is Joel Salatin. He's the lunatic farmer from Virginia who is just upending the whole world of farming and proving that it can be done in very creative and sustainable ways. And the marketing that he does around it is really innovative too.
Number 2, name a cool tool or an app or extension. Oh, we got fire engine.
Sorry, I got the fire engine driving by.
Name a cool tool, app, or extension you're using right now in your business or personally.
Lately, I've been trying to shift a lot of my meetings over to Marco Polo. I'm finding that asynchronous face-to-face communication can be very effective, and it can just greatly reduce the amount of scheduling and calendaring and stuff that I have to do. And so I'm really looking forward to somebody creating, Marco Polo for business that, integrates right into my Slack feed and stuff like that. It's not there yet. Somebody's going to get there. But for now, it's Marco Polo.
So what is Marco Polo? It's like one click and it's like a FaceTime?
Yeah, similar. Marco Polo is basically like a push-to-talk walkie-talkie, but with video.
Got it.
And so instead of me needing to sync up with an employee and we're both there at the same time on Zoom, instead I just talk into Marco Polo. They get the response when it's convenient for them, and then they respond, and I get it when it's convenient for me. And yet we still get the face-to-face. You can still see the the emotions and the facial reaction and that sort of thing in there. And I'm just finding that asynchronous communication, I think over time is going to become more and more common, and we're going to get better and better at it. But from a business perspective, it's proving to be very valuable for me.
And name a book or podcast you love and why.
Oh man, there's so many great books. A few books that have really had a major impact on our business. Start With Why by Simon Sinek. How to Build a Story Brand by Donald Miller.
Great book.
Creativity Inc. by Ed Catmull. All phenomenal books that have really had major impacts on us.
So for those listening, they want to learn more about Harmon Brothers. They want to pick up your book or check out Harmon Brothers University. Where can we send them?
Sure. So our book is not so much a how-to. It's more of a kind of behind-the-scenes look into how we created the very unique culture that we did and how that culture impacts the creative that we make. So the book is called From Poop to Gold. It's by Chris Jones. And then Harmon Brothers University, you can look us up at harmonbrothersuniversity.com. And of course, if you're interested in working with us just as a client, you can look us up at harmonbrothers.com. And
do you have your own social channels where people could follow Benton Crane around?
Yeah, LinkedIn is about the only place that I'm active. I've been told over and over and over again that I need to atone from that sin and actually get active on more channels, but LinkedIn is the only one that I've made time for.
All right. Well, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Fascinating to hear the story of the growth and for dropping all the knowledge that you have for the Marketing on Demand community.
My pleasure.
Thanks for hanging out. Hey, real quick, if you enjoyed this episode, please let me know by rating this podcast and leaving me an honest review. If you found this episode useful for your business, take a screenshot and tag me on Instagram at chadcollins.me and use hashtag marketingondemand. That way I'll be able to see it and repost it. I also created a guide of the top 40 ways people are using marketing on demand strategies and tactics in their businesses. And I want you to have it for free. Just text GUIDE, GUIDE, to 90851 and I'll get it right over to you on demand. Until next time, I'm Chad Evan Collins, and this has been the Marketing on Demand Show.